Once upon a time there lived an old man and an old woman in a small house on the edge of the forest. Everything in their life was arguing, only one thing was missing: the old man and the old woman did not have children. Once the old man asked to bake a gingerbread in the shape of a little man. The old woman looked into the barn, and there was almost no flour left. She took a bowl, scrubbed it along the box, swept it along the bottom, and a handful of 2 handfuls of flour gathered. The old woman kneaded the dough with sour cream, and when she was rolling out a gingerbread on the table, she took it and made it in the shape of a little man with arms, legs, with a head, and put it in the oven. After a while, the old woman came up to see if the gingerbread was baked, took it and put it on the window to cool. The gingerbread man cooled down, lay down, but suddenly got up and ran as fast as possible out of the house, from the window to the bench, from the bench to the floor, across the floor, and to the doors, jumped over the threshold to the porch, from the porch to the courtyard, from the courtyard to the gate, farther and farther. The old woman called her husband, and they both rushed after him. But it's not so easy to catch the gingerbread man. Now, he has already reached the field where the peasants were threshing their crops. Running past, the gingerbread man shouted at them that he had already run away from the old woman and the old man, and he would easily run away from them too. The peasants heard this and ran after him. But no matter how fast they ran, they could not catch up with him. A gingerbread man ran up to the field where the mowers were mowing the grass. Running past, he shouted to them that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and he would easily run away from them too. The mows could not stand such ridicule. Everyone rushed after the gingerbread man. They run as fast as they can, but they cannot catch up. And towards the little man the cow is walking, he shouted to her that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and he would easily run away from her too. The cow got angry, and also rushed after the gingerbread man. Only he cannot catch up. And to meet him a pig. The little man shouted that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and he would easily run away from her too. A pig screeched and ran after. Only she could not catch up, she was too fat. A gingerbread man runs along the road, and a hare meets him. The little man said that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and he would easily run away from him too. The hare heard this and ran after him. Nor can he catch up with the little man, only the hare saw him. A gingerbread man runs, and a wolf meets him. "I will eat you," says. And the little man answered him that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and he would easily run away from him too. The wolf growled and rushed at the gingerbread man, and he dodged and ran as fast as he could. Only the wolf saw him. A gingerbread man is running, and a huge bear is meeting him. His little man was not afraid, but shouted that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and from the wolf, and he would easily run away from him too. A ferocious bear stamped his foot and ran after him. But the bear was too slow to catch up with the fast gingerbread man. A gingerbread man runs, and a fox meets him. The fox was very cunning, but the little man did not know this. Therefore, out of habit, he began to shout that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and from the wolf, and from the bear, which means he will easily run away from her too. The fox listened to the end, and said that she was very old, did not hear anything. She came closer to the little man and asked him to repeat it. Obeyed her silly gingerbread man and began to brag again. The fox listened to the end and said that she still did not hear anything. She came even closer to the little man and asked him to repeat it again. The gingerbread man agreed, and then only he started anew when the fox pounced on him and ate it. And the gingerbread man no longer bragged about.
Once upon a time there was a little girl. Her name was Heidi. Heidi's parents died and she was cared for by Aunt Deet. But one day she had to take the girl to her grandfather. He was not very talkative, as he lived in a small house in the mountains. Auntie found a job in another city, so she had to leave the girl with her grandfather for a while. The grandfather of the Alps is used to living alone far from people. Therefore, he was very happy with his granddaughter, but did not know how to show it. The old man arranged for her a small room in the attic. Heidi fell in love with her grandfather at first sight. A wonderful life in the mountains began for her. The day after arrival, Heidi met her grandfather's huge dog. She spent all her free time with him. One day, while walking the dog in the hills, she met the shepherd Peter, who was tending sheep in the meadow. The children became friends, and Peter began to take Heidi with him for walks in the mountains. Gambling all day, Heidi felt really happy. At the same time, she never forgot about her grandfather, and in everything she helped him around the house. One of her favorite things was to bake bread. Heidi brought it to Peter's mom, and she, in turn, gave the girl fresh goat milk. Summer is over and winter has come. Peter started going to school. But Heidi was still too young for school. Therefore, Aunt Deet returned for her to take the girl to the city and teach her at home after work. The grandfather of the Alps was very upset, but still let the granddaughter go so that she could learn to read and write. Heidi was also very upset, but her aunt promised to return her to the mountains soon. Arriving in the city, the aunt took the girl to a large beautiful house. There Heidi met the girl Clara. She could not walk and moved in a chair due to an accident that she experienced in early childhood. Auntie brought Heidi to this house to keep Clara company because she had no friends. The girls got along well and became real friends. Clara helped Heidi learn to read and write. Having got used to the new place, the girl began to feel freer. Clara also became very attached to her. But Heidi really missed the mountains and her grandfather. She had everything one could dream of, but she felt like she was in a golden cage. She even stopped eating. Aunt Deet immediately understood why her niece was sad. And I decided to send her back to her grandfather. Clara was very upset that Heidi had to leave. But the aunt promised that Clara would be able to come and visit Heidi next year. A year later, Clara came to Heidi's. She met Peter and the children became very good friends. They walked a lot in the mountains, breathed fresh air, and ate natural food. But after some time, Peter began to worry that Heidi would again leave with Clara in the city. And then one day he threw Clara's wheelchair off a cliff. He thought that this would solve all the problems. But it turned out that without a wheelchair and thanks to the fresh mountain air, Clara became much stronger. And after a while she was able to walk at all.
Hooray!
Aunt Deet could not believe her eyes. And Peter felt very ashamed of his act. He admitted that he had thrown Clara's wheelchair off the cliff. Of course the girls forgave him. And the happy friendship of the children has been preserved for life.